Conservative New Media viewers and Jeremy Lin fans around the world, what's up? We're here to go over Houston's 100-94 victory today over the Charlotte Bobcats in Charlotte, North Carolina. This was a day game. There are a lot of day games being played today because today is Martin Luther King Day in the United States. So there's more kind of the early games going on today, although there will be some night games tonight as well. With the win, Houston is now 22-21 on the season. They break their 7-game losing streak, and Charlotte with the loss is 10-31 on the year. Now, what happened in this game is this was an ugly game, and Houston looked bad for a lot of this game, the way that they looked bad in the last game against the Timberwolves. But Houston was able to pull it together in the fourth quarter. They outscored the Bobcats 26-13 in the fourth quarter in a really good comeback, just a rally. It doesn't matter how you win, you just got to win, particularly when you're on a losing streak. So even though the game was ugly, it's great. Everything's pretty because they won. Now, I said in the last video after the Timberwolves game that the schedule was going to get easier, but it's not. It is going to get easier in terms of fewer road games and fewer back-to-back games, but they're still going to be playing some good teams coming up. And for the rest of January, they got to play Denver twice. They're going to play Utah. They still got some tough games, but it will get easier. And this month, they were scheduled for 5 home games and 12 road games, which is a huge amount, and 6 back-to-back games, which is a ton. So this definitely is the toughest month of the season. Even if some of the opponents aren't the greatest opponents, just the way that the schedule is structured does make it the toughest month. But they will be playing some good teams still coming up, even though more of those games will be at home. For the season now, Houston has played 1 more game on the road than they have at home, so that's good. For a long time, they had many more home games, and so there was always the danger that they could lose a bunch of games on the road, and that's what happened. But now things are pretty much evened up, so you're not going to see that kind of disparity, which is definitely a good thing. Once again in this game, I talked about this in the last game, the bench was big. The bench was big, and the depth of the bench was really important. Greg Smith, backup center, did not play in this game, I guess for family reasons. I don't know what that is. I don't know what's going on. I just haven't looked into it. But even without him, who Greg can be a very good contributor, still Houston's bench really outplayed Charlotte's bench. Houston's bench had 47 points and 19 rebounds, which is enormous. That's huge. The starters didn't play that great again in this game, although James Harden did really play well in the fourth quarter. But again, that's why you have good bench players so that they can come in and do things. Marcus Morris, Carlos Delfino, and Patrick Beverley all played really well in this game, and they needed them. Houston really, really needed them. Finally, Houston shot the most free throw attempts of the year so far. They had 41 free throw attempts, and of those 41, James Harden had 21 attempts, and he hit 19 of them. So he was struggling really badly through most of this game, but again, he was able to kind of pull it together in the fourth quarter and help Houston win this game. Now let's turn to Jeremy. This was a tough game for Jeremy. It's another tough game, and he didn't play at all in the fourth quarter, and people are going to be mad. Or that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that Houston won this game. I've said it in other videos before. The most important thing is that the team wins. Because when the team wins, you look good as an individual player, even if you didn't play that well. you're still going to come off looking better. And I'll tell you what would have happened if Houston would have lost this game. There would have been two main stories. Number one, Houston's still on a losing streak. The second main story would have been that Kemba Walker crushed Jeremy Lin. So it's however Houston won this game, it's good that they won it. And if Patrick Beverley was able to help with that and Jeremy didn't play in the fourth quarter, it doesn't matter. Because they won, Jeremy looks better. Jeremy scored 4 points, had 2 rebounds and 3 assists, 24 minutes. Shot 1 for 5 from the field. Didn't take any 3-pointers. He was 2 of 2 from the free throw line. He had 1 steal, no block shots, 2 turnovers, and his efficiency number for the game was 4, which is not so great. Patrick Beverley had 10 points and 3 assists, backing up Jeremy. He played 24 minutes as well. They split the time. Beverley's efficiency number was 9. Now, Kemba Walker just had an awesome game. Kemba Walker is the point guard for the Bobcats. He had 35 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists. His 35 points was a career high. His efficiency number was 30, which was great. The other guard, or the backup guard for the Bobcats, Ramon Sessions, he also had a good game. 19 points, 8 boards, and 5 assists. His efficiency number was 21. So Charlotte's backcourt, particularly their point guards, really outplayed Houston's. And in particular, Kemba outplayed Jeremy. So we put Kemba Walker on the revenge tour list with Jrue Holiday. In fact, if you look at the efficiency numbers in this game of Kemba compared with Jeremy, it was almost the exact same comparison between Jrue Holiday and Jeremy in the last game between Houston and the Sixers. In that game, the efficiency numbers was Jrue Holiday 30, Jeremy Lin 6, and in this one it was Kemba Walker 30, Jeremy Lin 4. So Jeremy's going to definitely want to have another crack at playing Kemba in the future, and he will. He'll have another chance. And like I said, look, some days the other guy does well and you don't. And that was one of these situations today. I think that this was the 25th different team that the Rockets have played this year, which again, there's 30 teams in the league. Houston's one of the teams, so there's 29 possible opponents for the team to face. And I think this was number 25. So like I said, Jeremy's seen just about everybody in the league now. There's 4 more teams or so. And that's good. Like I said, get used to guys, see who you might have more of a problem with, set up the revenge tour list, et cetera, et cetera. So it's good that we're getting further down that list. Now, today was the 6th straight game with no Linsanity 2.0. I think Jeremy has kind of hit the wall a little bit as the expression. I mean, I think it's the mid part of the season. Guys' legs are a little tired. You just get fatigued. I mean, this is what's been going on with James Harden. He hasn't been shooting well, a lot of turnovers, and this kind of thing. And I've seen this with Kobe Bryant recently, and I think it's happening to Jeremy some too. Now, once again, of course, this offense isn't geared for Jeremy, so he's playing in a situation that's not his best circumstance anyway. But I think now you're also starting to get some fatigue and just some kind of just a little mental fatigue too. I mean, this is a time of the year where you are about halfway through the schedule. The 82 games, a lot of teams are right around 41 games. Houston's at, this was the 43rd game for Houston. And guys want a break. Their bodies need a break. And particularly for Jeremy, who has never been the starter for a full season, he's not used to this. And what you see a lot of times when guys first come from college into the NBA is they hit the wall often, because they're used to playing 30 games in a season, and now they got to play 82. So when you start getting around 35, 40 games, they just start falling off the cliff in terms of performance. And again, I think a little bit of that's happening for Jeremy right now, which is okay. That can be overcome in time. Get a little rest, just kind of, take a break, etc. Which again is why it's important to have good depth, because then you can play fewer minutes. Now, going over some of what happened in the game itself, early in the first quarter, Jeremy had a really nice play where Charlotte trapped him in the back court, meaning that they put two defenders against him. So Jeremy was bringing the ball up, and he was in the back court, and they brought two guys in at him, and Jeremy passed the ball across the court, about a half-court pass, basically, to Chandler Parsons for a driving layup. That was a very nice play. In the middle of the second quarter, Jeremy got a good steal, and then he hit like a half-court pass to Carlos Delfino for an easy little reverse layup. Once again, we see Jeremy Lin making full court and half-court passes, game in, game out, and he did it a couple times again in this game. And that was great. Now, I made a note about with Kemba in terms of how he was working on Jeremy Lin. Some of it was straight one-on-one. Some of it was just one-on-one moves. But what Kemba was doing, and he was doing it well, was he would run Jeremy off of screens. He would set up a screen so that he could get a little bit of separation. And what he would do is, once the screen was set up, he'd get momentum. Like he'd start dribbling. It's almost like a running back starting to run towards the line. And so by the time that Jeremy got over the screen, Kemba had momentum towards the basket. He already had speed. And so it's like Jeremy comes off of the screen and you're trying to defend somebody already in motion. And Kemba did that really well, and it worked well, obviously. And look, Kemba's a good player. He's an excellent player in terms of one-on-one moves and scoring ability. He's very fluid. He's very good at creating his own shot. And I thought that strategy of getting momentum by getting momentum for him, getting speed going, and then having Jeremy come off of screens where he's standing still and you have momentum, it worked. I mean, it was a smart move, and it worked really well. Late in the second quarter, Jeremy was getting a little frustrated, I think, with Kemba was doing well against him, and he tried to answer. He was trying to do things on the other side when he was on offense. He had one little move where, he did the thing where he drove to the lane, and he does where he pivots back the other way, and he had this, rainbow air ball, basically. So it just wasn't working for him today. And we've seen some of that lately. We've seen a little bit of that lately. Also, Jeremy was having a hard time getting easy baskets in this game because the player for the Bobcats, Bismack Biyombo, was blocking everything. Like the guy had like 6 blocks in the game. And so Jeremy could not get his little layups or sneaky layups and, that help him to get points. So that was a difficult situation. Now what Jeremy's going to have to do, and I thought this a little bit in watching the game today, and I'm sure there'll be other people who thought the same thing, including his fans. Jeremy's never going to be able to have the explosiveness or athleticism of Kemba Walker. So he's going to have to find other ways to contribute and to score. And this is why it's important for Jeremy to be able to shoot well and to do different things in the future. Because he's going to improve. And he is great, pick and roll situations and stuff. But again, he's not Russell Westbrook. He's not Derrick Rose. There are limitations on what he can do, even though he's an excellent athlete. But he's not. He's explosive, but it's like I said, he doesn't have the complete explosiveness and fluidity of some of these guys. And that's okay. You don't have to have that to be a good player. Steve Nash isn't super explosive. John Stockton, who was a great point guard in the past, he wasn't particularly explosive. You can still be a great player. But what he's going to have to do is figure out ways to make it work for himself. Jeremy's used to being a player who attacks the basket all the time, and that's good. That's part of what makes him who he is. That's part of what set the tone for Linsanity 1.0. And he's always going to be able to do that on pick and rolls. And this team just doesn't do a lot of that. But there are limits to that because of his limitations as an athlete and as a player. Like I said, LeBron James can do that in, game out, because he's more athletic than everybody. He could jump over people again and again and again. Jeremy can't do that. And so he's at a level now of competition where, he's going to get his shot blocked sometimes. And he's going to have a difficult time blowing past the second defender. You can get past the first defender, but, there's a guy sitting back there waiting to block your shot, like Dwight Howard or Bismack Biyombo. So he's going to have to adapt a bit more. And as we've talked about many times this year, he's in transition in terms of doing that. He is a combination guard. He is a combination point guard and shooting guard. He's trying to figure it out. He needs to get more moves. He needs to improve his three-point shot. He's not playing in a system that's designed for his ability. So it's going to take time. And you're going to see games like this where it's like, oh, man, it doesn't look like he can do anything. But it's not accurate. He's just going to need to figure out what he can do and can't do. It's almost like Jimmer Fredette with Sacramento Kings. Jimmer in college could dominate. I mean, he just shoot threes, and he could shoot threes from 35 feet, and he could do what he wanted to do. And he can't do that in the NBA because the competition level's higher. And so you have to adjust. And that's what Jimmer's done a pretty good job of that. Like, he's a lot better than what he was last year. And that's what Jeremy has to do, and he's doing it. He is doing it. Houston, overall, as a team, they're athletic in terms of they're quick, then they're young, they get up and down the floor. But the only guy on the team who can consistently get his own shot in a meaningful and good way is James Harden. So what you have on the Rockets is you have a bunch of guys who need good passing. They need to be set up to get shots. They're not all going to be great dribblers. They're not Dwayne Wade. They're not all James Harden. And Jeremy has some of the same limitations. I mean, he's better at getting his shot than some of the guys. But again, there are limits there in what he can do. And so sometimes it's going to bog down a little bit. Sometimes it's not going to look that great for the team or for Jeremy. They need to be crisp. They need to pass well. They need to be in sync, or else they're not going to be able to create a lot of offense. And like I said, that's like Jeremy himself. So it's just something, it's something that's clear today. You can see some of the limitations there today, but that's okay. I mean, he can still be a terrific player. As I said, Jeremy did not play in the fourth quarter of this game. And late in the fourth quarter, I thought the best play of the game was the score was tied up, and I can't remember exactly how much time was left, but the shot clock was running down, and James Harden drove into the lane, I think, and he made a really nice pass out to Patrick Beverley, who hit a huge three-pointer from about 30 degrees to the right of the top of the arc. That was just a great play. Look, like I said, I'm happy for Patrick Beverley. I'm happy for Jeremy that Patrick Beverley's around. As you guys know, before Patrick Beverley came up to the team, I was saying, Patrick Beverley, they're looking at this guy. They're going to bring this guy up. This guy's going to help out. And that's what he's doing. I feel kind of bad for Tony Douglas, but look, I think Patrick has more upside than Tony Douglas does. I think he's a little young. Well, no, actually, Tony's young himself. I just think Patrick's a little quicker. I just think there's a little bit more ability there. And so, as I said, the better that Jeremy's backup can be, the better it is for Jeremy. The easier it makes things for Jeremy. Like I said, now nobody cares that Kemba did great against Jeremy. The bottom line is Houston won, and that's what people are going to remember. So, Patrick's going to help make things easier for Jeremy, and that's the important part. Okay, the summary is huge win for Houston. They just needed to win this game somehow, some way, and they found a way to win it, and that was key. Again, the bench was critical in this game. The depth is really starting to make a difference, as I was hoping that it would. Don't worry about Jeremy. He's going to be fine. Nobody knows better than him that winning is the most important thing. They won. Everything's cool. Everything's cool for him. Everything's cool for the team. Next game is 2 days from now, Wednesday, against the Denver Nuggets in Houston. Denver's playing well. They're playing quite well. They just beat Oklahoma City last night in Denver. Now, Denver's a better home team than a road team, and that's because, well, I mean, every team's better at home than they are on the road, basically, but Denver's at high altitude. They're like a mile above sea level. So, it's makes it tougher for teams not used to playing at that altitude to breathe. So that's an advantage for them. So, still, they're a good team. They're real good. And they're improving. Like, they're starting to really kind of find their stride. So that's going to be a tough test for Houston. And Denver plays a lot like Houston does, which is up and down the court. So that'll be a good game. Hopefully Houston can find a way to win that game as well. That's it for right now. Your comments below, thumbs up, thumbs down. We will have the full information about video highlights, box score, and game stories in the video description below the video player. You'll also find information there about how you can join the Conservative New Media Facebook group, which has over 2,000 members and growing all the time. I am Paul Villarreal, the NBA expert. Thanks for watching Conservative New Media. We strive to be the #1 Jeremy Lin YouTube fan channel. Hope everybody's having a nice Martin Luther King Jr. Day and a good day, good evening, wherever you are around the world watching this video. Right now, it's about 5 in the morning in Taiwan while I'm cutting this, so it's very early over there. But we'll talk to you guys again soon. Great win for Jeremy and for Houston.